In this video we'll be traveling on board of an AVE high-speed train from Valencia to Madrid. And not any AVE high-speed train operated by the state-owned railway company of Spain, what is Renfe, but the newest type. What it's like to travel on board of these newer AVE high-speed trains that are in many ways different compared to the current high-speed trains you can find in Spain. We're all about to find out in this video. Join me on board of this AVE high-speed train from Valencia to Madrid. And this is not just any AVE high-speed train, because I covered already the current rolling stock you can find in Spain. But these are the newest AVE high-speed trains that have actually been launched today. Pure coincidence. Well, actually not, I rebooked my tickets, but it's pure coincidence that I'm in Spain for this. Anyway, for now, let's get this video on the track and let's roll the intro. We start off this trip report at the railway station of Valencia Joaquin Sorolla. This is one out of the two main terminal stations you can find here in the city of Valencia. If you want to go straight to the new train parts, you can find them from the time that will pop up on the screen right now. Like any other trip report, I'll start off by showing you the railway station where this journey starts. Well, basically, we start this video at the railway station of Valencia North. This is the oldest of the two terminal railway stations you can find here in Valencia, and these terminal railway stations are basically right next to each other. Estación del Norte, or Valencia North station, is a little bit closer to the city center. And in terms of the metro connection, this is slightly better from the North station. Although you also find the metro close to the other railway station, but then you have to walk a little bit. But there's another better way to travel between those two stations by public transport. I'll get back to that in a bit. Valencia North station is definitely the prettiest of the two railway stations. This railway station breathes the railway history. This is a terminal railway station where you will only find the Iberian gauge tracks. In Spain you basically find two different kinds of railroad tracks for the mainline trains, and they have the broader Iberian gauge tracks and then the standard gauge tracks that are also being used for the high-speed lines. Over here you won't find high-speed trains. Most trains are regional trains, but there are some occasional long-distance trains from the North station as well. Well, in the future they basically want to combine this into one bigger railway station, what would make a lot of more sense if you ask me. There is a shuttle bus between the two stations as well, even though it's only a 10-minute walk, according to Google at least. But in reality, this is, well, like 6 or 7 minutes. This shuttle service is for free if you have an AVE high-speed train ticket, but also Euromed, and as far as I noticed, also Aero tickets gain access to this free shuttle bus. This here is the front of the railway station Valencia Joaquin Sorolla. What isn't as pretty as the North railway station, that's the least I could say. At the side there's a big taxi stand, and here is an ad about the future plans for here. So they basically want to integrate this into one big central station. What makes more sense if you ask me. This current railway station dates back from 2002. And it's basically right at the back side of the North station, where there was a little bit more space to build some more tracks. And this is also a terminal railway station. Around the main concourse there are plenty of shops, some information areas for railway tickets, well, you name it. You find ticket counters for Renfe, what is a state-owned railway company of Spain and where we'll be traveling on today, but also Iberian, what is another commercial company. WeGo, what is another commercial company, doesn't have ticket counters here. In Spain you basically find 3 different railway companies and 4 different brands for high-speed trains. For that reason, the best way to book your train tickets is Trainline. This is my favorite way of booking my train tickets in many European countries. I'm not even being sponsored by Trainline, but maybe I really should consider to make an affiliate link to their website. Personally, I book my tickets a lot via their website. Even though this doesn't always work in all European countries. But for Spain, this is definitely the best way to book your tickets. Although sometimes there are some challenges as well when it comes to this, because high-speed trains can be booked really a lot in advance, for example. But for example, media distancia trains, although the inter-regional trains or medium distance trains, although they do cover quite some long distances as well, can sometimes only be booked a week ahead. This is really confusing, and this might seem like there are no train connections in some situations, while there are great connections. For this trip, I am actually traveling to Morocco from the Netherlands by train, but I do this via a little detour because I want to make some more videos. For example, for the last train I had, what was from Antequeras to Algeciras and what is a media distancia train, I could only book it 1 week prior departure. But this AVE high-speed train, I could book it months in advance. Directions have been marked crystal clear within this railway station. This is not only in Spanish, but also in English. Typically for Spanish high-speed railway stations, there are quite some car rental companies. Taking a high-speed train to somewhere and from there on rent a car is pretty common over here. Especially at the countryside, the public transportation isn't always that good in Spain, and therefore this is also quite obvious. Let's head back to the main concourse of this railway station. There are clear departure screens that will host information about both departing and arriving trains. Typically for Spanish high-speed railway stations, you have a quick luggage check. This is not like an airport where you have to be in long security lines. You basically have to put your luggage in an X-ray and there might be a metal detector for you as well. That's basically it. After this you get, well, at the after security area, your ticket doesn't need to be checked for this area yet. Where the railway station of Valencia North only has the Iberian gauge tracks that are wider than the standard gauge tracks you can find for the high-speed lines. Over here you will find both Iberian and standard gauge tracks. There are 6 standard gauge tracks and 3 Iberian gauge tracks at this railway station. There is a first class lounge as well, but not all first class tickets gain access to the first class lounge. Keep this in mind. Before you can go really to your platform, the ticket will be checked. And today our train departed from one of the Iberian gauge tracks. What is unique about, well, some long distance trains in Spain is that they have the capability to change the width of the tracks. So these trains can run both on the Iberian and the standard gauge tracks. I also arrived here with a train that was capable to do this. By the way, track 7 and 8, this is so close to each other, it's probably not even possible to use both tracks at the same time. Not really good design. Well, for this trip, at least for the section between Valencia and Madrid, where I also took this train, it was really busy. But here is our train coming in. Well, like always, before I show you the interior of the train, let's take a closer look at the exterior. But I think I can do this best at the moment I recorded the train departing from the railway station of Madrid. I hope you like this video so far. If you do so, or if it's a helpful video to you, please give me a thumbs up. And if you'd like to see more trip reports about more sustainable ways of transportation, the main focus for this YouTube channel is long distance and cross-border traveling, then hit that subscribe button if you haven't done this already. If you have some questions, some comments, or even if this one's a halo, feel free to leave a comment. And for now, let's continue with this video. And for this, let's take a close look at the exterior of our train for today. There are 2 engines, both at the front and at the back of the train, so this train will be pushed and pulled at the same time. It has been clearly marked that this is an AVE high-speed train operated by Renfe. The carriages are relatively short, and this is typically for Talgo trains. You won't find any information about what facilities can be found where and what class numbers are where at the outside of the train. However, there are digital screens that will host the route information, train number, carriage number, etc. Tickets for these trains do always come including a seat reservation. The dining car hasn't been advertised on the outside as well, but it's obvious that this is a dining car because the windows are higher than in the rest of the train. Talgo is using special carriages that are relatively short. and there's only one set of wheels between the carriages. This way, a natural tilting technique has been created so the trains can also take curves at higher speeds. And the carriages themselves, they are not as long as in normal trains. What is basically resulting in that these trains do take less space than other trains and railroad tracks. Therefore, they have made these trains wider as well. As this image displays what I found on the Talgo website. I also found this image here showing how wide the body of this train is. And just as an extra addition, we are talking about the Talgo AVRIL on this video. Another unique thing about Talgo trains, and I already told this in one of my first videos, actually my second and my fourth video ever, were also on Talgo trains, is that one set of wheels is shared between two carriages. This is pretty unique, and in general these trains are very lightweight as well. However, the amount of weight that is put on one wheel is compared to conventional trains higher. Therefore, these trains are not the best trains, for example, in countries like the Netherlands. The German railway company, however, also ordered these trains for the route Amsterdam-Berlin, and it might be even a question mark if these trains will be able to run on this route. But for pretty much all other countries where the ground isn't that soft as in the Netherlands, these trains are absolutely perfect. For this ride, the ticket prices are being sold for relatively low prices. Actually, I booked another ticket first, and then later on, when I noticed that this train was on this route, I booked this train ticket last minute. I think this is also a way to test out how everything is going if the train is fully booked. So not just train geeks and representatives from the railway company and the manufacturer, but just real passengers who probably didn't even knew they will be on the newest train. Apart from the oldest AVE high-speed trains, these trains do have seats that are not all facing into the driving direction, but half of the seats is driving backwards and the other half is facing forwards, with some seats facing each other in the middle. Second class comes in a 3x2 configuration, while the first class comes in a 2x2 configuration. This is all different from what we know from European trains so far. The overhead luggage racks in these trains are huge, and that's the least I could say. As a matter of fact, they might even be too big. I am pretty tall, but if you're not as tall as me, it might be hard to reach things that are totally at the side. I'll start off by showing you the second class, or as they call it here in Spain for the AVE high-speed trains, Turista. And this comes in a 3x2 configuration, what is different from most European trains. However, because the body of this train is wider, you do have a very reasonable amount of space as well. Also, for example, for high-speed trains in Japan, Taiwan and China, this is more or less the standard, having the second class in a 3x2 configuration. Basic route information will be displayed at screens above the entrance doors for these compartments. And also at the end of the compartments you will find digital screens that will host more route information, as you can see here on the top right of the screen right now. For luggage, of course you find the overhead luggage racks throughout the train, but also at the beginning and at the end of these open compartments there are dedicated luggage racks as well. Just like all other AVE high-speed trains, this train does have a dining car. Apart from that, at several spots within this train you also find some vending machines for snacks and drinks, and right next to that there's a kind of table where you can enjoy your snacks and drinks while you stand there. Integrated within the luggage racks you'll find a reading light, and there's one reading light per seat. Apart from that, you also find the seat numbers right in the luggage racks. Between the seats there are 2 power sockets, so at the moment you have 3 seats in a row. This means you have 4 power sockets. Right below the seats there's a small handle you can use to recline the seats in second class. At the moment the seats do face each other, you find a bigger table in between you can fold up, and within this table you find the entertainment system. In this entertainment and infotainment system you won't only find, for example, magazines, movies, newspapers, etc., but also live route information. At the moment you walk through the train, right above the compartment doors, it has been clearly marked in what carriage you are. Most seats do come in an airline style composition and there's really a fair amount of legroom. It's really generous and this is very well done. You find a footrest, a magazine rack and a small litter bin. Would be nicer to see a waste bag without plastic, to be honest. There is a small but sturdy fold-out table in the seat in front of you, and within the screen you also find a USB charging point and a 3.5mm plug. The 3.5mm plug is obviously for the entertainment system. A coat hanger is integrated within the seats. All windows do have a sunscreen, what might be needed for the hot Spanish summer days. And all seats do have a reading light, although I didn't put it well on camera. Just like all other AVE high-speed trains, there is free Wi-Fi available. What is not just a Wi-Fi connection, but also the entertainment system on your mobile phone. I didn't test it out in this train though. This here is the bigger accessible toilet, what can also be used as a diaper changing facility if you're traveling with a little baby. Well, it's just a bigger accessible toilet, nothing fancy or special about this toilet, so let's move on. Right next to the bigger accessible toilet you also find the accessible area and the area if you're traveling with a little kid with some extra space to put the buggy for kids in, for example, in the second class. Even for the wheelchair and the accessible seats you find these screens, which is really nice. You can even turn them a bit. Well, I said this before and I really mean this, I think traveling should be easy for everybody, no matter if you are in a wheelchair or not. And in these terms they did a great job for these specific trains. They are also easy accessible, so step-free access. The aisles near the accessible area are a bit wider as well, because, well, you wouldn't able to move in a wheelchair throughout the train, I guess. Well, it maybe depends on the kind of wheelchair, I never tested this out myself. The seats in second class, well, they're not impressive, but they're definitely not bad either. It's pretty average, I would say. Personally, especially as a solo traveler, I wouldn't like to travel along the middle seats. For now, let's move on to the first class. That doesn't come in a 2x1 configuration, like in most European long-distance trains as a first class, but in a 2x2 configuration, what is, in general, the standard for second class. At the very end, or beginning, depending how you look at it, of the first class, you'll find the Sala Exclusive. And this here is a kind of private compartment. I think this is mainly being used, for example, for famous people who travel by train and just want to have some more privacy, for example. And somehow this also looks like a great room for if you want to have a meeting on board of the train. The rest comes in this layout, and I noticed in this area of the train there were more seats facing driving direction. The amount of legroom is even more generous over here. You have a fold-out table in the seat in front of you and you can fold this out to make it even bigger. Because you have so much legroom, the fold-out table might even be a little bit too far away. Just like everywhere in this train, you find the entertainment system in the seat in front of you, and within the first class, or as they call it over here, preferente, you find some extra space between the seats. Over here you also find the power sockets. Just like in the second class or in Turista, this handle to recline the seats is located right under your seat. Obviously, just like in Turista or second class, you find reading lights integrated within the luggage racks. And, well, here's the power socket, while I'm using it. Just like everywhere, you find screens. Also at the moment you have tables facing each other with some route information, entertainment system, etc. like I already mentioned before. Between the first and the second class, or between Preferente and Turista, you find a small pantry. For some tickets in first class or Preferente, you also have meals that are included. This wasn't the case for the ticket I had. I already showed you the accessible toilet, but I haven't shown you the regular toilets you find most on these trains. By the way, at all toilets I even noticed this kind of explanation about what can be found where, including a small map. So you don't even need a Trainviking trip report for this. Well, these are the regular toilets. Nothing special, and most importantly, they were clean. Well, that's the least I can expect for a train that's just brand new. You can also use these regular toilets as a diaper changing facility for if you're traveling with a little baby. both in first and second class. At the very end or the beginning of the carriage, I also noticed some parts of the seats where you find these folding seats. These seats do have the same level of comfort as the regular seats, by the way. I guess it will only be used for if it's not too busy on board of these trains for extra luggage space. But like already mentioned before, you do have enough luggage room in these trains in general. It is a long distance train after all. The overall quality of both the first and the second class is good. It's not impressive, but it's definitely not a bad train at all. What is definitely better than in most AVE high-speed trains is the dining car. The menu selection is pretty much the same, however the layout is way nicer, better and more spacious. Also the fact that you have to do a little bit more yourself, so you can take the drinks by yourself and then go to the counter, really makes it a different experience than when you have to wait in line for someone to pick up your order and then pay. It was really busy over here, and I also feel it's slightly bigger than most dining cars. They also have this area for kids that has unfortunately a screen. Imagine trying to reduce the screen time for your kids. Even though it was a bit hard to film because it was rather busy, I think you have a good impression of these trains. At this moment you won't find them that much yet, but they are planning to use these trains also on international routes to France. At the moment the train arrived at the railway station of Seville, it was on the Iberian Gates tracks. However, shortly after departing from here, the width of the tracks was being changed in a special facility that's right after the railway station. This here, by the way, was the train I was planning originally to take on this route, but I took an Aereo train later on the route from Madrid to Malaga. For the last bit of this video, I'll show you some views from the train between Valencia and Madrid. I'll get back to you at the very end of this video. That's it on these new AVE high-speed trains. I think they're good. The capacity is absolutely great. I think they're also quite energy efficient, but probably already told you that in the video. The seats, they're not bad, but they can be better. Yeah, I think I already shared my conclusions in the video. For now, that's it for this video. If you liked it or this has been a helpful video to you, please give me a thumbs up. I really appreciate that. If you have any questions or even if you just want to say hello, feel free to leave a comment. And if you'd like to see more trip reports about more sustainable ways of transportation, the main focus for this channel is cross-bordering and long-distance traveling, then hit that subscribe button if you haven't done this already. Before we really end up this video, one last thing. Once again, thank you so much for watching. I hope you liked this video and or this has been helpful to you. If you're looking for other videos, of course you can find them on this channel, and something else in the description of this video on YouTube you find a link to a map where you can find all videos as well. And this map, it will be updated very soon with a lot of new lines.